All right, we are back. Yeah, the little green thing is on, which is awesome for me. We had a little hiccup with the audio, but we are back on episode 117 of the Gamer Librarian podcast. So now that the audio does come up, we can continue going. There is a good amount of stuff for us to talk about here at the end of the year. So ultimately, what has changed? What is different? And I think that video games, entertainment media, anime, manga, movies are a very, very different place now. A very, very different place now. Only because I think there's far more expectations, far more quality that people are striving for. And a lot of that comes with transparency, how things are made, what they're made with, and their intentions with certain products. I think that is entirely valid for this year. I think we've seen that time and time again. I mean, whether or not something has a small bit of artificial intelligence within its creation is a massive thing. Incredibly gigantic to any product, any company, any artist, creator putting out a product. And we see that just becoming a massive thing now. Ultimately, there is more ways to make video games than there ever have been, ways for people to create certain art and anything. I think that is awesome. So things are different now. I mean, we saw that with Summer Game Fest, and in my opinion, probably the very lack of mainline video game showcases that are showing off their games. I mean, there's almost nothing slated for next year. If we're not talking like GTA 6 or Phantom Zero, well, I don't know what the ninja game is, but it looks like a third person Ninja Gaiden type Souls like game. Phantom Zero Blade, Phantom Blade Zero. And these are big productions. They look pretty big, right? No gameplay from GTA, but we had in-game, trailers and stuff, and massive gameplay stuff for Phantom Blade Zero. And then what does that leave everything else? What does that leave that Halo Combat Evolve remake that's coming out, which is something that I think shouldn't have been made. And it's being made in a way that is just pandering to the certain small demographic of people who are single console elitists. They only play one single console like Sony or PC, and Microsoft, other companies are trying to branch out and get people who never played these franchises before into their games. The Gears of War Reloaded and the Halo uh, Combat Evolve Beyond game, I think is not the right way. They should have been done that. The Master Chief Collection should have been put out on all platforms, and then there should have been a collection for the Gears of War games, the Marcus Phoenix collection or something, because ultimately wherever that is leading, it's just not the same. I don't think we want n- old games being reproduced with small additions that are just kind of a little bit additional to the original, and it doesn't really add anything. I mean, honestly, $70 for a Combat Evolve remake with like maybe like 4 levels, no multiplayer, compared to Master Chief Collection, that's absolutely insane. And something even more egregious this year was the Game Awards. The Game Awards seemed like it wasn't that collaboration effort from the three major parties of video gaming and just a big celebration of gaming. It felt like here's the rewards. People have been nominated, and some of them rightfully earned the rewards. And then that's all well and good. The award show, I think, is just there to celebrate games in its own way, even though it didn't feel like it was the correct way to celebrate them. And then the thing that we're all looking forward to, and it's the game announcements. We are treading territory that I don't think we'll be able to come back from. I don't think that we'll be able to revert back from where we were 2012, 2013, when every type of gaming showcase, you at least knew that the companies were the developers, the publishers, the creators were going to show off something that's been cooking for a while, something that fans have been either craving or some new exciting. And not to say that any of the games shown off at the Game Awards were not good looking, but from what we saw, did they feel like the next level, the next uncharted territory of gaming? No. No, I think that it was quite lackluster, now that we're a week away from it, 2 weeks away from it, and the statue with the Larian and the Baldur's Gate or Divinity is just over. That felt like the biggest thing out of Game Awards, and because of the announcement of just being another Divinity game, it just felt like it wasn't Bloodborne returning, or it wasn't like some new IP. It was just, his like the third or fourth Divinity game from a company that deserves it, right? They put out a great game, has a tie into a pretty large license. So Divinity has a lot to, I think, separate itself from what makes Baldur's Gate, and trying to make Divinity really interesting to not just D&D fans, overall gaming fans in general. So if the new Divinity game has the same quality as Baldur's Gate 3, awesome. But the world and all that stuff, that's very different for hit or miss sake. Expedition 33 has a little bit of AI in its development. And whether or not that's make or break for some people, it is massive to see what we are dealing with now in gaming. So I personally, I don't really care if there is AI used in the creation of a game. I think that it's definitely better if developers are upfront with the production of their games and how these tools are utilized, where they're utilized, and that's something that we are going to have to deal with. We're going to have to be really, really aware of what's happening here. A lot of people don't like that. I personally, I view it as just a tool that makes it easier for people to make the games, make things get done. You know, it's not handcrafted to the same degree, but it's just another way for someone to get something done, right? I can't make video games or music or movies or anime, right? If I wanted to, I could just, use the AI robot to do it. And some people would covet the handcrafted art. Some people would be very grateful for that and would prefer it. But sometimes some people just want to get something created and put it out there and see what happens. You know, I am more for the progress of humanity, and seems like it's beneficial. Definitely not right now, but whatever makes it easier for people to make games and put out better games, that's all I'm here for. AI could definitely be used in manga, anime production. I mean, there is a whole slew of stuff there that just hasn't been touched. And I think it's just going to get better and better for those reasons. It's just that whether the public wants that change and whether or not they're willing to accept that it's being used in that way in their mediums or their fan bases or whatever, right? I don't know. There's going to be someone who's going to make like a great story or a great game. There's going to be like mostly AI nonsense that holds it together. It's not a big deal to me. Now, for the next year, I think we're in for a huge. huge treat. I mean, that treat might be bitter because there's no games. There's no games. I mean, if I look at the catalog of video games that we have now compared to in the past, mm, there would at least be like 2 or 3 games from each publication, each major player, Xbox, Sony, Nintendo, that would have something to keep us waiting for, keep us excited for, and the games now, I mean, there's not even a single besides the Wolverine Sony game, and I guess, like, Sorrows, which is, like, the spiritual successor to Returnal. I'm excited for that, but there's no, like, massive Sony title. There's no massive Nintendo title. Metroid Prime 4 was the last Switch 2 game of the year. Mm. I like Bonanza more than I did Metroid Prime. The exploration, the traversal, even the gameplay is just kind of more engaging, interesting than Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime 4 just feels like we have checkboxes for what a Metroid type game should be, and we're gonna make that as best as we can, have all those things, and then we're gonna put in this open worldness to it that just kind of feels like, oh, I get to ride this motorcycle. There's some cool combat stuff with it, which is nice. But the open world just kind of adheres to the fact that, like, did it really need to be this big? Is that because the game is that a reason why the game doesn't look as pretty as something like Breath of the Wild? I don't know. Don't even get me started on Pokemon and Xbox. You know, they have things that they're working on. Gears of War E-Day, Combat Evolved 2 or whatever, Fable 4. Elder Scrolls 6? I think it's saying that the only games that we ever seen gameplay for those is Halo Combat Evolved. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And I'm a big supporter of Game Pass, you know, as somebody who likes to play the newest games when they come out. Game Pass has a decent rotating catalog of that. And ultimately, the vast library on that system, on that platform, that service, I have from gaming for 20 plus years. So the value for me isn't necessarily there, but for new gamers, that's obviously something that's probably very highly coveted. These games, it's crazy to see that the time it takes to make the games is increasing, the money it takes to increase the game is increasing, and the quality is just dipping, diving, falling. I don't know where we're gonna go from here. I mean, the showcases next year, I think really, really need to be spectacular. You know, Microsoft needs to have actual gameplay or at least some knowledge of The Elder Scrolls 6. Like, that is the only game people care about from them in any way. I'm a big Gears fan. I'm a big Gears fan. I don't think they're gonna do it in any way, shape, or form that a Gears in 2025 should be. And then Sony. I mean, Sony's just kinda twiddling the thumbs. It seems like they're more concerned with putting out their great first party titles rather than, like, their secondhand titles like Helldivers, which went cross-platform after some discrepancies. And then there's the Bloodborne just not being made, no Bloodborne 2, whether that's an issue from Sony's side or maybe it's from Soft, maybe it's something in the middle. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they're all getting excited for it, right? Duskbloods is from Soft, and ultimately that's just going to be something we'll have to wait and see if it's going to be good or not for the Switch title. Its exclusivity and stuff is up in the air. Summer's Game Fest. I mean, if some of those companies aren't there, it's going to be a really hard time. I think Nintendo needs to have their Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 2 announcement. The fact that it wasn't at Game Awards was one of the more telling aspects that these companies aren't here for the game celebration. They're not here to just be like, "Yo, look what we're cooking. This is just what's in happening. In the meantime, we had time to make this trailer or this announcement thing just for this event." No, they are strictly withholding themselves to games and promoting those games on their own time, on their own platforms, on their own services, on their own streams. It's not a bad thing, you can't blame them, right? I mean, when you look at how much it costs to have your little trailer at the Game Awards, 1 minute for 450,000 and then 3 minutes for $1,000,000. I don't see companies paying that money to just secure a spot for something that will garner eyes, it will garner attention, it will garner notoriety, people will see it and be interested in it, but does that cost really matter when it could have been put into something like production or something, or you could just put out the trailer on your own site for free, like YouTube. That is the case. So was something like that Larian statue huge thing seemed worth it in the this is the gaming space type stuff? No. If it was Bloodborne, I think fans would be all in for it. I think it would have been the best. But the very fact that that type of event led to the announcement of just another sequel game, and that sequel game was, from a studio that is now in AI hot water, and then it's that turn-based style that people are always like turned off from, but then like that narrative, take your time style for Baldur's Gate, that's hit or miss for some fans. I don't know if it was the time or place to announce a game like that for that type of money. They obviously made it from with Baldur's Gate, but 2026 is going to be an insane year for games. And I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to see where the gaming industry goes. What massive changes do we have in store for us? I'm more I want to see Sony deal with that cross-play tag that was like leaked a few months ago, where it said like this game has a cross-buy or whatever, where you can buy a game on a PlayStation platform and you get it on Steam or whatever. That would be awesome. Truly, truly insane to have something like that right there. Because I think it would be awesome to be like, oh, if I buy this game on Steam, I also get it on the Switch or the PlayStation or the Xbox or whatever. I think that would be really, really sick. But ooh, it's probably not gonna happen. Probably not gonna happen. And obviously more of the AI stuff is just gonna be more front and center. And I think that it's developers and publishers that have to be really upfront with whether or not AI was used in their development. That's really just how it goes. Me, if I see AI was used in a game, that's not gonna deter me from playing the game. In certain aspects, maybe for like the whole soundtrack or the whole dialogue was just done in AI, right? That seems like grounds to just maybe not play the game, but not that big a deal to me. So next year, looking forward to more guests here on the podcast. I mean, we've had 4 or so, which is insane for the small time of history we've been on here. And it was great talking to them and seeing what it's like from a developer's eyes, from a writer's eyes, from somebody in the project management side of video games. So that aspect I actually really look forward to, and I want to try and get more of that for next year. I think it'll be really awesome. Me just talking is certainly certainly something. Next year, gonna try and spruce up the podcast a little bit. I mean, we've been going live for like 10 episodes now, 17 episodes or so. Since episode 100. Insane. We've been trying to do that. And it's getting a little harder just because technology, all those kind of technical issues, but we make do. And in the meantime, playing video games, reading manga, reading books, doing all this kind of stuff just to fill in the time of what I'm doing. I mean, it's all I can do, right? We just reached level 100 in Battlefield 6. Took a lot of time. 130 hours, give or take the time spent in campaign and just sitting in lobby and stuff like that, managing loadouts, but 130 hours to get to rank 100. I think that those live service games really need to start having real good rotations of new content, additions of new content. Marvel Rivals seems like it has a really good platform for that. It's issuing like 2 to 3 characters every, 4 or 5 months, it seems. And then I imagine new map, like new massive event, new battle pass. Battlefield 6 greatly needs new maps. I think it might even benefit from like a new class system. I mean, the assault support, mechanic, and recon, they're all great, but you know, I see something like Rainbow Six Siege from Ubisoft, right? And they have like they build wall construction stuff. They build deployable like uh defenses. They build all these kind of like stuff. They have all these technical drones and stuff. I would like to see more of that in a Battlefield type game. Just a little more like equipment, a little more vehicles, a little more variety to the things that we're seeing on the map rather than just like human with gun or vehicle and stuff like that. Maps definitely need to have some upkeep. I mean, I played a few Battlefield games, 3, 4, Hardline. Those are probably like the three most played Battlefield games for me. It felt like the destruction in those games was far more intricate, more detailed, more on a grand scale. I would see that in an update for Battlefield 6 is a bigger map with more destruction type stuff. 50v50 would be insane to have at some point. We did talk about a little bit about Metro Prime 4. Haven't beaten it, but these games this time of year is hard to get through. We wanted to also get through the Metal Gear Solid 3. We want to get through that. And I just didn't really want to go through and play a single player game for that long and all that type stuff. And I'm really just waiting for a reason to play or download Metal Gear Solid 4 in some fashionable way. Don't want to ROM it, but most likely the Sony showcase next year, one of them will have the announcement for Metal Gear Volume 2. That's all I can say. So, games, what are we doing? Probably going to try and finish Metal Gear before the end of the year or before the announcement. That's probably the only single player game that I really gung ho on playing. And then Metroid Prime, right? I know we had a where winds meet last week. Just slowly checking through that game. But Battlefield, it's the multiplayer game where like you just plug in, play a few rounds, and you're done. It's pretty simple. Been a pretty lackluster time for gaming. I probably gamed less this year than I have almost any other year, which is pretty sad. And ultimately, we just gotta accept that and play games when we can, how we can, in any fashion. Now, something else we talk about here is stories. I mean, I would like to read more manga, but we don't really do that. I want to read more books, more novels, but there just hasn't been a lot of books that I felt like I've been wanting to get in. This year has been the year of manga. Or maybe it was last year when we started it, but we've been going really, really hard with manga. And I've said it before, but unless it's Dragon Ball or really One Piece, I'm not gung ho on reading it week by week. I'll try and do it for most things. Like the ones we're behind on now is Chainsaw Man and Dan to Dan. Dan to Dan, I'm only down by one chapter, which came out like yesterday. Chainsaw Man, we're behind by like 5. We'll get to those eventually. But the only one that I really do read week to week now is Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo because I think that the alien type stuff there is really interesting, even on top of the spirit demon magic stuff. All that's really cool. And there's something like JoJo Lands or Berserk, we try to read once a chapter actually comes out because it's very sporadic, like once a month to once every 6 months. Yeah, that's just the way it is here. And really, unless there's One Piece, Dragon Ball, we haven't really been super gung ho on it. But every now and again, we find a manga, an anime that we've known about, heard about for years, and we finally give it a shot, right? We did it with Baki, we did it with Vinland Saga. We I completed the Gantz manga, the whole thing, the first series and the two spin-offs. Couldn't find the light novel online, and I will say that that was an incredibly good manga. Just from start to finish, it was incredibly entertaining. Its mature themes really like propelled it into like a new level just for like reading sake. For like for me, I feel like it was just more personable, more real. It felt more like the grittiness of it felt like it was real world. The characters, like they're fine. They fit their tropes and stuff. The main character I think is something that's like maybe he shouldn't have been the kid the whole time. And then there's plot holes. Massive, massive plot holes in the Gantz manga, which I do hope get fleshed out in the anime, which we've been watching, because apparently the anime has a different ending adaptation than the manga. It doesn't adapt one to one the source material. It has its own original ending, like Full Metal Alchemist, the original one. And that's not a big turn off for me, but I was at least hoping that we would have more context into the game. And from episode 8 or so, not a lot of context there. Maybe later on in the season we'll get there. But for now, it's just gratuitous sexualization and annoying main character. That is the Gantz anime, and the Gantz manga is a little bit like that, less sexual gratuitousness. But man, I really enjoyed reading Gantz. It was entirely fun. It was a huge shock. It had a bunch of turns and twists, all that kind of stuff. And it's getting me to watch the anime, which is awesome. So the manga for Gantz was written by Hiroya Oku. Now, this person is a prolific writer, many, many things, and I've only tried one other title of theirs, and that's the Zero One manga, which is apparently the one they did before Gans, like I guess the precursor to it. It's not inherently related, but Zero One stopped publication because of sales and small interest, apparently. Has a great premise, an awesome premise where a kid uses video game competitions to go against bullies, make a life for himself, and it ends pretty abruptly because it's only like 40 chapters and it just kind of ends and it stops. I would like to see more of that. Remind me very much of Ready Player One in a lot of ways. And so with these manga, it's definitely been very fun to find one that I've known about for decades, and then I get to read a spin-off one from them, just a one that never even got an anime or anything like that. I think that's very, very fun. So before we get to the end of the episode, right, we've been watching the Gantz anime. When we're all done with that, we'll talk about it, whether or not it's really worth it with the different adaptations, much better the manga or the anime. We'll talk about it later. But TV shows, right? We do watch a few TV shows, and Mayor of Kingstown season 4 ended. Wow. Wow. I mean, kind of a slow burn to be like, oh, we're here now after some of the events from the other seasons. Maybe some of these events could have happened earlier, but it's a horrible town to live in. That Kingstown seems like a horrible town to live in. Jeremy Renner really kind of keeps the show going, even though he didn't really do much this season, it seemed like. And hopefully there is more to come because there seems to be a lot that needs to be resolved after season 4. There's the Bunny and the Detroit gang type connections. Then there's the prison warden, the girl from Jackie. Insane. Insane. Now, I wanted to talk about this first. Stranger Things season 5. I can't believe the quality of that show is so horrendous. It's so awful. I knew that once season 3 came out, once I watched season 3 and the pacing just became so much slower that they were stretching it out. I don't like it. I don't like it. Season 5 really sucks because it's all these characters talking about their relations with another and then crying about it when the world is in danger. And honestly, they should be using like the government to stop all this nonsense and to get everything done. But it's not working out that way. The government obviously wants to use it as weapon or stuff, but all this dream talk, all this like feeling talk, it's not after something like it. Welcome to Dairy. Stranger Things season 5 is truly not good. It's truly not good. I recommend going and watching it. Welcome to Dairy as opposed to Stranger Things season 5. It wasn't even exciting. Nothing truly cool happens. Nothing exciting. It's probably all saved for the very last 2.5 hour movie that they're making for their last episode. Awful. I can't believe it. Season 5 had a it didn't really have anything that grabbed me. It didn't have anything that was worth remembering, really. It was just kind of, here's the stakes. The stakes have to continue happening, but the rest of the story is going to be saved for a movie. Nah. However, something that you should watch, sadly it's only on Apple, Pluribus. Wow. Wow. I mean, I was not expecting a sci-fi type show. And ultimately, it's the sci-fi tropes, the aspect of it that really engages me. But it's the self-loathing, like interpersonal character stuff that's happening in the show that's really just like, it doesn't really need to be this long. Are we really doing this again? It's kind of unnecessary in my opinion. But it's an incredible, incredible premise. I mean, if you haven't known about it or seen it, I recommend Pluribus because the first episode is fucking insane. Absolutely great. And then season two, they announced the season two. I'm excited. I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm blown away. I'm stumped. I have no idea. And then they had a trailer for the Malcolm in the Middle sequel show. I never would have thought that would get a trailer ever, 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 a sequel ever, ever, ever. But it did. Just like everything else, nothing is ever truly dead or gone ever. So Malcolm Middle's back, Halo Combat Evolved is back, and we still don't have any Super Smash Bros. DLC announcement, anything. Maybe around March or April. That's probably the best time they'd usually do it, is those announcements. But 2026 is turning into something really dangerous for video games. Something very, very dangerous for video games, and that's concerning because it could affect TV shows, movies, manga, and anime, all that type of stuff. And I'm just here to talk about it. Share my thoughts, what's happening, and read a few manga or play a few video games in between. That's really just it. You know, Looking forward to at least more guests on the podcast. I do my best to get, indie developers or whoever I think would be fun. And scheduling is obviously hard this time of year, but we try to keep up with it. We try to keep with games, manga, and ultimately, if it's something that you guys think that I would enjoy to read, watch, play, let me know in the comments because next year's a whole new year. Who knows what we're gonna do next year? Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Peace.